Hello and welcome back to this risk management presentation. So, as I was continuing on, I'm going to now go into slide number 11, and then this is where it comes to a template, or where I present the risk assessment sheet. It's an example of handling a risk assessment in the workplace. Very similar to when you're working in a construction site, you'll have a risk assessment like this. Spotting the hazards and identifying the hazards. So let's go through it. I'm going to play from the current slide. It's called a risk assessment template. You are involved in setting up, example, like a Focus Ireland working group. What risks might you encounter and how would you guard against them? So here is the risk assessment sheet. First heading you need to solve is to spot the hazard. The two headings that you need to spot is to identify the work task or activity, then what are the hazards associated with each activity. Then the second task you need to do is to assess the risk. So is the risk associated with the hazard low, moderate, significant or high? And then the next one, you have to fix the problem. So if the risk is deemed unacceptable for the task, what will be done to reduce or remove the risk? And then by whom? And then by when? Then the last one is to evaluate results. Go through the first three steps again to ensure risk levels are now at an acceptable level, and then at a revised risk level. So that's really what the assessment sheet is. It's very important. Sometimes a lot of managers at times will have to take this and undertake a risk assessment sheet for employees and employers onto how they handle risks and hazards and how they fix the problems or any problems going on in the workplace, and how the manager can evaluate results to achieve better results in the risk assessment. So let's move on. Let's end this slide and then move on to the next slide. This next slide is about risk reduction. Some risks cannot be avoided, like for example changes in the economy, recession, change in trend, etc. In these cases, a business needs to be as flexible as it can to adapt to such changes. Some risks can be minimized. The risk manager must find ways to reduce the risk and implement these changes. Like for example, motorists can reduce the risk of injury by wearing seatbelts and regularly getting their car checked, fitting a building with good security systems. Security staff, burglar alarm will help reduce risk of burglary. Fire risks can be reduced by banning smoking, installing sprinkler systems, and by having a smoke alarm. Those are the great risks, how to reduce them, how to reduce risks in safer ways. So let's move on to the next slide. Okay, this is how to reduce risk. Number one, identify the risk facing the business, like for example, risk. I already read this, I do. Honestly, I don't know why that was in there again, but let's move on. This is a new one. This is not a repeated slide. Risk control measures. First one is insurance, then it's training, then it's information and signage, and then quality control. Those are the risk control measures. So the next slide might maybe tell us about the insurance. Yeah, this is going to be telling us about insurance. Type of insurance per business. Buildings and contents, employer liability, public liability, product liability, cash and transit, motor insurance, and PRSI. That mostly involves in payroll and accountants. Now, next slide. This is the types of insurance for business. Buildings and contents. This covers against damage to buildings, stock and equipment in the event of any damage or loss as a result of a fire or burglary, etc. Next one is employer liability. This covers against claims made by employees who suffer injuries as a result of accidents at work. The policy may also cover the legal expenses incurred in dealing with the claim. And the next one is public liability. This covers against claims made by the public as a result of accidents or injuries while on the business premises. Then employer and public liability are normally arranged together and called combined liability insurance. So these are all the types of insurance for business. Let's move on to the next slide. These are the types of insurance content. Product liability. This covers claims by members of the public for loss, damage or injury suffered as a result of the sale of a faulty or defective products. Cash and goods in transit. Cash in transit protects against cash being stolen while being transported from one place to another. Like, for example, a bank. Goods in transit protects against stock lost, damaged or stolen while being transported is important for firms involved in foreign trade. And then business interruption insurance. This helps to cover lost income and business costs. If the business is shut down for repairs or rebuilding, it allows the business owner to continue to pay rent, salaries and other key payments. Now let's move on to the next slide. This is more about the types of insurance content. Motor insurance. There are three types of motor insurance. First, motor insurance is third party. This is compulsory by law and covers a person against claims by another person in the event of an accident. It does not cover against personal loss. Next one is third party fire and theft. This covers third parties along with any loss arising from damage, theft or fire to the insured person. Then the third one is comprehensive. This is the most expensive form of insurance as it covers all risks against all third parties and the owner's loss. So those are the types of insurance costs. So I think that's it for insurance. The next one is now about training. So now training helps employees acquire new skills, knowledge and attitudes. It lessens the risks related to poor job performance and is particularly important in relation to the health and safety aspects of their work. An example is operational risk. And then down here, there are generally two types of safety training. The first type is on-the-job training, and the second one is health and safety training. So that's what training is. So let's go on to the next slide. Now, this is now going to explain more about the first type of job training. On-the-job training. Specific safety training on the job training, which aims at tasks where training is needed due to the nature of the task. Like, for example, safe use of workplace tools. This is usually conducted by supervisors who, in most cases, have the necessary skills and experience to deliver safety training. On-the-job training can range from a day to a week and in some cases, years. That's what on-the-job training is. Let's move on to the next slide. Now this one is the second type, and it's now the health and safety training. The purpose of health and safety training is to improve the awareness of employees and show them how to perform their jobs in an acceptable, safe way. For example, induction training provides new employees with the key skills that overlap among most workers, like, for example, fire and safety regulations, reporting procedures, etc., and then manual handling provides employees with a thorough understanding of manual handling, lifting, putting down, pushing, pulling, carrying or moving loads, and aims to ensure that employees understand the hazards and how to reduce the risk of injury. So these are the important steps of the health and safety training. Okay, let's go on to the next slide. This is the information and signage. All workplaces need to display safety signs as they help warn both employers and employees of potential risks in a workplace. And then the requirements vary from company to company, industry to industry, but guidelines are provided through the Safety, Health and Welfare at the Work Act 2005. Okay, let's go to the next slide. This is now about the quality control. Quality control aims to ensure that any products or services produced satisfy the customer's requirements. This activity includes number 1, determine the standard, determine the quality demanded by the customer. Number 2, reach the standard. This may be achieved by buying the right raw materials, training staff well, etc. The third one is monitor and evaluate. All stages should be consistently monitored to ensure quality is continuing to be met. Fourth one is identify problems. Good quality control can identify problems quickly and correct them before they become a major issue. For example, overbooked restaurant and recall on products. And the fifth one is quality control officers. A company may introduce people whose responsibility it is to monitor the quality control. And that's the last slide. Now let's check the slides spellings for the rest. Let's start with slide number 11. So far there wasn't any risks at all since the first slide of this presentation, so it's very good. Accessibility does normally have errors everywhere because of the special icons and images inserted in each slide, so I wouldn't worry much about accessibility. However, it is important to check accessibility, make sure there's no problems when you're doing this in the workplace. It's very important. If you have errors, you need to fix it quickly as possible, otherwise you'll face problems in the workplace and you might cause the file in this PowerPoint presentation problems with other companies. So sometimes in the workplace, accessibility is very important and make sure there's no problems. But checking slides is just checking spellings, which is the easier way. Okay, I'm going to stop right here. Thank you all for watching this. Really, it's been an interesting presentation, I hope you enjoy this. This is very important, but risks. It has been very challenging and interesting for me to send this to you. So thank you all for watching this and see y'all soon. Adios.